Hi, I'm Donald Austin. I'm a director with One Pacific, and welcome. This is our third in a series of webinars for sourcing companies. We talked about demand planning last week, so this week we're going to talk about e-commerce for sourcing, which is a trend we're seeing with our clients and with also our prospective clients. And we'll spend a few minutes going over why we're seeing this trend and what some of the impacts are. And if you're a sourcing company, whether you're selling eventually to retail or to businesses, what are some of the paths you can take and some of the things you need to think about as you look at this option for your organization. So there are a number of dynamics that we see in the industry that are driving the changes. Number one is increased competition. Number two is a need to increase margin. So sourcing companies often have relatively low margins because you're somewhat of a middleman, but there's always need to increase the margin, and looking at e-commerce is a way to do that. Also, there's a ability to reduce your risk by diversifying how the business operates. We're also seeing COVID speeding up changes in buying habits. So I think the buying habits are changing anyway, but we're seeing an increased change due to the way COVID has impacted businesses. And then, frankly, existing retailers are downsizing or, frankly, disappearing. So some of the market you might have sold into in the past is no longer available or is not available on the same scale. So let's take a look at that. So this is some interesting statistics. In 2020 so far, 27 retailers, and I think these are mostly U.S., have filed for bankruptcy. So some of these will come back in a different form. Some of them we'll probably never see again. So there's some actually quite big names on there. And in 2019, there were still a fair number of bankruptcies, and this was actually before the COVID issue. So I think it's actually part of a larger trend. So more and more retailers are going to start to disappear or continue to disappear, and this is going to impact the types of companies that sourcing companies can sell into. So very important statistics there. Another thing that's happening, though, is the infrastructure for delivery is improving. So if you just look at the demand for warehouse space, it's going through the roof. And it's not just large warehouse space, so Amazon is buying up space all over the U.S. Other companies are buying up space globally, and a lot of this is driven by e-commerce demand. And in fact, some companies are even repurposing malls as warehouse space. So things that used to be retail are now just warehouse space for delivery. Along those lines, you're seeing a rise of what they call micro-fulfillment centers. So these are smaller and close to consumers. So urban warehouses is another term you'll hear. So the idea is that these can be stocked, it's fast-moving goods, and things can be shipped directly to consumers or to businesses very quickly. These micro-fulfillment centers tend to be highly automated as well. This is an example of a picture of one on the left side here. Is a robot that's carrying the code, the items for distribution through the micro warehouse. We're also seeing on-demand warehousing. So you don't have to invest in warehousing space of your own. You can just get the space on demand where you need it. And then there's a shift from bulk to individual orders. So it's getting easier and easier to do deliveries instead of a large order, just small orders. And an example of a company that's pioneering this is right here. It's called FlowShip. This is actually a client of One Pacific's. So they specialize in e-commerce orders, small orders, generally shipped from China directly to customers all over the world. But the net result, I think, of this infrastructure for delivery is its improvement in customer satisfaction. So it gives you, the sourcing company, different or better opportunities to deliver quality service to your clients without you having to invest a large amount of money in logistics. So a lot of that can be done for you. So that's another trend we're seeing that makes it a little easier. And then I think most importantly is shifting procurement models. So when it comes to purchasing, this is both industrial purchasing and retail or consumer purchasing, online websites are becoming the way to do it. Now, maybe your own website or maybe through a marketplace, which we'll talk about a little later. But in Asia, the growth has been exponential, and a lot of that has been China, but it's also other places as well: Japan, Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, Philippines. So buyers are increasingly using e-commerce both from direct to manufacturer and direct to consumer as well. We'll talk about in the next few slides how you can do this, and also what some of the challenges you need to think about are as you tap into these trends. So again, more on shifting procurement models. So you can see, digital self-service and remote rep interactions are the dominant elements of B2B, right? And it's similar now. It's actually taking over from B2C before. Around 90% of B2B decision makers expect remote and digital model to stick around in the long run. And most people actually believe the new model is as effective or more so than before the kind of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then 95% of B2B buyers say they'll make a purchasing decisions in the digital model, and they're actually comfortable spending quite a bit of money, $50,000 US or more online. So this is relatively recent statistics, and I think what you can see is digital self-service and remote human interactions across all the ordering cycle are actually increasing and well over almost 80% of the interaction. So there's a lot going on here. This is, I think, an example of what I said earlier, where I think the COVID crisis is increasing the trends that were already there. So it's speeding up the trends that were already there towards remote operations, both interactions and ordering as well. So just some more statistics. This is specific to Asia, to China, Thailand, and Japan. Again, e-commerce is disrupting the traditional procurement model, threatening the role of distributors. So if you're a sourcing company, you've got an opportunity here to move into a more direct relationship with your customers. And down here, who's lost share? It's really the online. Who's gaining the share? It's the online marketplaces and manufacturers who are gaining the share at the expense of distributors. So mobile apps, online websites, electronic data interchange, these are the areas that are really taking off in the procurement model. Again, more on the shifting procurement model. So this is, again, for Asian buyers. They perceive excellence in online marketplaces in several categories. 56% excel in ease of ordering, so it's much easier to order online than it is to do in traditional methods. 44% believe that the price or value for the online marketplaces is better, and then 44% believes it excels in both choice of delivery times. So this is interesting. So manufacturers, or if you're directly sourcing from a factory, lead in buyer perceptions for a number of areas. The reputation's better, post-sale support's better, money-back guarantee is an option, and then other value-added services, which we'll talk about a little later. So there's definitely some benefits, and there are also some changes and challenges that you need to think about. So some of the benefits, if you're going direct to consumer or direct to business, is there's no more need for the middleman or the partner. So that side of the business, that's where some of the extra margin comes from. You go directly to the end customer. There is an ability to expand directly into any market. So if your past business model required you to find partners in a particular market or a particular country, you now have the capability electronically to basically go direct. So the effort you would spend in trying to find those partners and build a relationship with that partner, which can take quite a bit of time, you can focus just on the direct sales to your end customer. And with the direct sales, you can capture your margin better, a little more margin for the products, and then also it differentiates your business as well. So it reduces the risk and adds a bit of more of a benefit to how the business runs. But it is different. So if you're a traditional sourcing company, there are some things to think about. So order size might change. So you might go from bulk sales to small or even individual sales. So we mentioned our client earlier, Flowship, that handles individual sales. So this changes how your orders get fulfilled or how your products get fulfilled. There is a higher level of service and responsibility. So generally in a direct model, the expectations may be higher. Positive customer experience is key. So sometimes there's some investment on improving that part of the business. And this is really tricky here, though. Depending on what you're selling, you may be competing with some of your existing partners. So there's some different ways to address that problem. But in fact, we have certain clients who are going through this right now. But the market with the direct to consumer or direct to business, it's just too big to ignore. And as you've seen from some of the earlier slides, the trends are just going that way. So you have to find a way around this issue if you're competing with some of your existing partners that we normally work with in the distribution channel. There are other things that do matter. So value-added services do matter. So I'm working directly with a customer. There's things I might want to think about. So is there a money-back guarantee that needs to be offered? Is there insurance that I need to provide? How quick is my delivery? How easy are my returns processing? What kind of post-sale service am I going to provide? So a lot of sourcing companies aren't used to dealing with some of these value-added services, and it really depends on what type of product you're offering as to what makes the most sense. But you want to think of it in terms of your entire customer journey, what they need to get from before they order, how they find your product before they order, and then what happens after they order. So these are some things to think about as you look into moving into that direct market. Here's a way we've seen several customers do this, and we talked about competing with your existing partners. So one way to add some value is branding, right? So you take one of your products that you offer and you can create a brand around it. In that case, you control the brand, and the message of the brand is front and center. You can control the description and display. With the brand, you can create a memorable customer experience, and we'll talk about this. With a brand and your operations, you're going to have a lot more data, and you can use that data to improve the operations and the experience. Now, one of the ways to deal with a brand and if you have an existing distribution channel, is they may be similar products, they may be slightly different, but your traditional channel would have the traditional products you have, and then the new channel, whether it's e-commerce or going to a marketplace, it'd be slightly different. So you're not directly competing with your existing channel, but you're sort of augmenting what you're selling in your product line. So that's one way to think about it. But having the brand it makes a real differentiator for our customers, our clients, when they go into e-commerce. There's different options though, and different ways to get started with the e-commerce. So there are multiple options, or a combination of options. So obviously you can have your own e-commerce solution, or you can work with online retailers. So again, it's following the trend or trying to get ahead of the trend. I mean, if you look at the top 10 e-retailers in the United States, Amazon is by far the biggest. Then you have Walmart. Then you have eBay. And some of the others, Home Depot, Best Buy, depends on what types of products you're selling. But almost all of these groups allow other companies to sell into their platform. In fact, they often encourage it because it saves them a lot of investment as well. Amazon's probably the most well-known, but of course Walmart does it as well, and eBay as well. So these are some channels that you can get into. They certainly all have their rules, their regulations, and the way they operate. But I say the market in many cases is just too big to ignore. That's the U.S., but even globally, the top 10 retailers are dominated more and more by e-commerce. So you look at where we are in 2018, and this is a projection 2024. You can see Alibaba, you can see Walmart, you can see Amazon, you can JD, Taobao, it's all there. So the e-commerce, again, the real message is it's just getting too big to ignore, no matter what business you're in. And especially if you want to capture the higher margins. So, why is the technology important? So we've talked a little bit about what the trends are and how you can take advantage of the trends. But the technology, if you want to be successful, the technology is really, really important. And that's really one of the things we want to share is some things you need to think about up front. So number one, wholesale is different than direct. So the technology can be used to improve that. Transaction volumes for direct sales can quickly become very large and can't be efficiently handled with existing or manual processes. So maybe as a traditional sourcing company, I'm selling in large volumes, large batches. But if I move to a direct model, I might have much smaller batches or even individual orders. For the same number of items, the transaction volume goes up really quickly. So when you look at technology, you need to think about, I need to separate my wholesale and my direct orders, right? So now I have two lines of business that I'm working with. but I want to be able to pull from my wholesale pool if required, or vice versa. Again, you want to be as efficient as you can, and so it's less working capital that way. And then I want to provide a complete picture of the business in a single place. And I want to be able to look at my profitability by business line and at the order level, right? So my profitability might be wholesale and direct, or my business line, but I still want to look at it at the order level. So that's the technology can provide a complete picture of that. And with that information, you can make much better decisions. Also, I want to be able to provide information on my buying behavior or my direct marketing function. So if I'm doing some marketing for my direct sales, the more information I have about the buying process, the better I can improve it. And then, of course, you want to eliminate manual processes such as spreadsheets, reconciliations with marketplaces, things like that. They can take up a lot of time, and it sounds easy at first, and it might be, but then, as we said above, when the transaction volumes go up and up and up, these manual processes can become very expensive and waste a lot of time. So what you're really looking for with the technology you're using is less work, number one, which leads to higher profitability, and then a more balanced business. So One Pacific, we have some roadmap options that we recommend to clients. So there's really three that we look at. So what we recommend on the back end, or the enterprise resource planning side, is Oracle NetSuite. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is it's a single integrated solution. So it's going to have all the information you need from your supply chain to your sales to your finance and accounting and business intelligence in one place for all your business lines. So if you're doing wholesale and you're doing direct, it's all there. So I've got all my item information, my inventory information, customers, how I do my sales orders and fulfillment, whether it's direct or wholesale. So it's a different process, but I've got both of them in there, managing all my payments and receipts, my procurement from my factories, and then financials and dashboards and KPIs. So having that consolidated back end is extremely valuable. NetSuite is a cloud-based solution, so it's easy to get up and running. It can easily handle multiple currencies, multiple locations, things like that. So, and there's thousands of customers using it for both e-commerce and wholesale. So that's on the back end. And then if I look at the front side, the side that touches the customer, there's several things to look at. Number one, NetSuite has a solution called Suite Commerce Advanced. So it's a website for e-commerce, obviously. Now the benefit there is it's completely out of the box, built-in integration with NetSuite. So the items that I set up in my inventory and the pictures, it all goes straight to the website. So I'll have one place to maintain all my information, all my pricing tiers, orders, payment gateways, things like that, all happen in one place. Now, there's other ways to do it. You may already have a website, so you're looking at something like Shopify or Magento. So there's connectors, and we work with several of those. There's connectors you use to integrate it. I've got a slide on that coming up. We'll talk about that. And then similarly, you might be selling through marketplaces such as Amazon or Rakuten or eBay. So again, there's connectors you can build to integrate directly with Oracle and NetSuite. So you've got your items, your inventory, things like that, all seamlessly transition between the two. The two of the products that we use, or solutions we use, are Workato and the UiPath to help automate this integration. Two clients we have right now are D1 Milano and Wobbleworks are using Workato to connect to their Shopify website with actually really, really good success. Workato is just an example. The technology has come a long way in the last few years. So as an integration, Workato, it's really drag and drop, right? So I create what they call a recipe, I drag and drop which data I want to pass back and forth. I can add some logic to it. And then one of the powerful things about Workato is there's hundreds and hundreds of connectors already built in. So you can connect things right away to Shopify, to Magento, things like that. So these are really powerful tools to take a look at when you want to connect things. And as I said, what used to take weeks to connect now takes days. So it helps you get up and running quite quickly. So we talked about the e-commerce platform. So Integrating with the platform is very important, and that's what saves you a lot of the manual effort and the reconciliations and things like that. Now, there's a lot of platforms out there, so Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Taobao, Tmall, that you can connect to. They all have different levels of application programming interfaces, so they work slightly different ways, some easier than others, but you can generally integrate at multiple levels. The level you want to integrate with should depend on your volume and speed requirements. So, for example, if I'm just getting started with Amazon, I may only need to integrate my orders and my inventory items just to get up and running quickly. If I move into a really high volume situation, then I can look at integrating everything from fulfillment, settlement, payments, shipping, and tracking. It really depends on what you want to offer to your customers and how much effort you want to put into it. Now, at One Pacific, if you're just getting started with this, we'd recommend starting with a basic integration. So you get that up and running quickly, you get some quick wins, you start to get some transactions, you start to get some sales, and then as you move along, as business increases, you increase the integration as it makes sense. So it's a relatively logical approach. And if you're new to this type of selling, then it makes it a lot easier and a lot quicker to get up and running. You start to get some return on your investment, and then you can invest some of that extra margin in deeper integration as you go along. So one thing you get out of all this is a whole lot of data, right? So the data is extremely valuable, and you want to use that data to constantly improve the business. So with tools like NetSuite, you get dashboards, KPIs that you can set up, and a lot of these are actually out of the box. But these are useful on a daily basis to manage the business, to understand what's going on, to make sure your team is aligned on the information and the decisions that need to be made. You can track KPIs and dashboards on almost anything. So these are just some that come out of the box. Sales orders, value per order, gross profit, fulfillments, shipping information, inventory value, inventory turn. So it's this to us is some of the most valuable things you'll get out of this type of process, is just having the data to make better and better decisions. And again, the more automated you are, the better your data is going to be and the more of it you're going to have. So kind of at the end, what do you get when I move to a e-commerce model, which could be, say, my own website, or it could be working with a marketplace such as Amazon or Taobao or Tmall. So because you're owning the entire transaction from your purchasing all the way to the customer, you should be looking at increasing the margin. With the automation, the technology, there should be a high level of operational efficiency. You'll have better customer relationships because you're dealing directly with the end customer. You'll understand what they need, and you'll be able to constantly improve those relationships. From a business perspective, you've got some diversification, and you've reduced the risks. You're less reliant on your existing set of customers, and you've got a more varied customer pool. And then I think this is really important. You're going to stay ahead of industry trends, because I think, as we saw in the first few slides, things are only accelerating. Buyers are more comfortable buying online, and then the current environment we're in is just going to get faster and faster and faster. So staying ahead of the industry trends is an important way to stay ahead of the competition as well. So that's really what you get, and it can be very valuable, especially over time as you build out your capabilities in this area. And don't forget the branding as well. If I own the brand, I have a chance to increase my margin even more because I've got some intellectual property built into it. So that's what you get. So very powerful. Again, not too hard to get up and running if you start with the basics and you have the right technology platform in place. So if you're interested in discussing more about how you can get started with this, or what some of the things you need to think about, or just you want a copy of the presentation, just contact us. We're happy to arrange a custom demonstration and a topic review for some of the things that we've talked about here. The technology is quite easy to show. We also work with clients on assistance with the business case development. So if you're a traditional sourcing company and you're looking at moving into the e-commerce, we can help you understand the numbers a little better so you can look at what kind of return you should be expecting and how much investment you should make. And there's a lot of government support you can get in this area right now with a number of different programs. So it's a really good time to start to think about that. One Pacific, a quick introduction to us if you weren't in any of the previous webinars. We're Asia-based in Hong Kong, but we have clients that we support all over the world. we focus on really a total solution for our clients with these primary tools, which is Oracle NetSuite, which is it is the most powerful cloud-based enterprise resource planning solution. So as I said earlier, it's a single platform, which is really important, especially when you have multiple business lines, multi-company, multi-line, across the entire business, finance, CRM, e-commerce, supply chain. So it's a great base to start from, and then so you have all your data in one place, all your information in one place. When it comes to integrating with other solutions or other platforms, we look at Workato, which is a leader in no-code automation, and I showed that slide earlier. It's just drag and drop to start to connect things, and there's thousands of connectors that are pre-built. And then UiPath is a really powerful solution. It's a leader in robotic process automation. So that really simulates what a human can do, but of course, because it's a robot, it can run 24/7. And the most valuable thing we find is it frees up your team members to focus on more valuable functions such as selling or operations rather than managing data entry and things like that. So 3 really, really powerful solutions, all 3 pretty quick to get up and running. So happy to go over any of those if you want. Services profile. So we're a full service company. We do business process design, implementation, training, mentoring, and this is what we do a lot of now: dashboard and KPI design and development. Because you got these solutions in place, you have a lot of information that you can work with. So we do a lot of sourcing, work with a lot of sourcing clients. You can see some of them here. Go to our website, and we've got some testimonials from the clients. We really enjoy doing that. So they can talk. You can hear them talk a little bit about some of the solutions that we work with them on and how it's benefited their organizations. So sourcing is really important for us. But we do more than sourcing. So we do, pure e-commerce and distribution, manufacturing, financial services, and then some startup and high tech. So we kind of run the gamut of industry, but sourcing is one of the things that we really, really know well. And our team's got a lot of experience in that industry. Last slide, our approach is we take a business model first approach. So we want to make sure we understand your business model, how you make money, and then we can help you fine tune it and improve it with the solutions that we offer. And our projects, we define our projects and we drive based on business metrics, right? So everything's geared towards how is your business improving. And we have a very structured methodology for doing our work, which means that the solution, the knowledge is transferred to your team as well, so that you can take what you get and then continuously improve on that as you go along. Anyway, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, just let us know. You can chat with us on Zoom, or feel free to contact me or anyone at One Pacific if you want more information, either these slides here, or have a general discussion about how you get involved in e-commerce and also about what the appropriate technology solutions are.